But football without fans is not. You play a football match without fans, you're getting it. It can be the greatest game in the world. If there are no people there to watch, it becomes nothing.
Into Johnston. Johnson. Larson. Oh, he's in! Henrik Larsson! That is sensational! Nakamura! He has done it! Isn't that just typical?
The game is over. The Rebels have won.
A star is born at Celtic!
Champions. That's who we are.
Well, James, another game down, and the lead has been restored in the league. Celtic have romped to a 4-1 victory at Rugby Park. We beat Kilmarnock earlier on this season. I think it was 5-0 back in August, and it threatened to be a bigger scoreline today. The second half was almost as disappointing as Martin Scorsese's The Irishman, I felt. But overall, what was your thoughts in today's game, mate?
Pretty much the same as yourself. The first 20 minutes, absolutely fantastic. You're sitting thinking it could be another Tannadice or potentially even better. And then after we scored the fourth and Kilmarnock made their subs, the game just kind of died a death. But not going to get too disappointed. Job done. On to the next 6 points to go until it is official. So, just ticking them off now.
That's it, mate. That's it. McGinty, an eye-catching football top that you've got, and I'm going to imagine it's a Mexican one.
Yeah, another Santos Laguna shot today. Day of the Dead from a couple of years back. There's a wee mini series of shots from different clubs. But yeah, football shots. That was a good game of football today. Well, first half was anyhow, as I'm sure you guys have already touched on so far. It's a great first 20 minutes, half hour. It looked like we could have went double figures at some point. But I don't know if it's when they made the changes, when they made the double substitution, or if it's when half-time rolled around, or if it was just the fact that we were coasting it so easily. But it seemed to be after that fourth goal, we just went, nah, we've done enough. We're not going to risk too much here.
It was a bit strange. Like, we were 4 goals up to the good within half an hour, and I'm sure a lot of us were suspecting a double-digit scoreline by the end of today, and perhaps to throw into the mix maybe a wee sacking for Derek McInnes. That would have been a good Sunday. It didn't work out like that. The second half was a quiet affair, a strange affair, a bit lacklustre, but still a lot of talking points, a lot of positives anyway. Well, we're 12 points ahead. We got 4 goals today. On a plastic pitch. We came away with no injuries at all. One unusual face at the game today was Jurgen Klinsmann. Of course, he was there to sample the famous Killy Pie and also run the eye over who did come on in the second half. James, what did you think? Kyogo obviously got his goal in the first half. He missed a penalty too, but he came off at half time and came on. Do you think that was purely down to the fact that Klinsmann was in the ground to look at his player?
I think that probably would have played a wee part in it, but I think he was more than deserving his chance. Obviously, I had said that I would have started him last week. But no, I've liked to look at him when he came on. Don't get me wrong, I don't really think he get a kick the day, but coming on when you're 4-1 up and you've essentially changed the full forward line, obviously that and Summers come on towards the end, it was always going to be difficult, but not going to hold that against him today. But I think Klinsmann's kind of wasted his time if he was coming to CO because he didn't get much out of that performance.
Aye, I'd imagine probably posed for a lot of selfies today. An iconic striker for Germany. Well, he didn't have a great club career if you think about it in comparison to his exploits with Germany. But anyway, McGinty, going into the game, Kilmarnock, what were they fighting for? Well, they were 1 point ahead of Ross County at the foot of the table. And for us, we'd made a few changes after beating the Rotten Mob at Parkhead. So we had Kobayashi playing in ahead of Cameron Carter-Vickers, who wasn't on the bench. Jota as well, another player who wasn't on the bench. Iwata started, O'Reilly started along with Kalmak. And you had Haksabanovic up front as well with Maida and Kyogo. What was your thoughts on the lineup? An opportunity for some French players to make their mark? And if so, did any take their chances?
Yeah, Iwata and Kobayashi, I think both done themselves well. That first half hour or so, yeah, it was very much all Celtic. In fact, I take that away. The first 5 minutes, I'll get onto it some point, was atrocious from Kilmarnock. Just niggling little fouls after foul after foul. But once we put the goal in, it kind of shut them up a wee bit in that sense that we just steamrolled it. But I thought Iwata played a great part in the midfield today. He was when he needs to. He was attacking when he had to as well. It allowed McGregor to do the same. And they seem to work in tandem really well together. And I think there's definitely, once you see Hattati come back in, there's definitely 3 players there who can all do very similar things to a very good level and work together and not be in each other's way. Unlike when you had like 2 defensive midfielders by Scott Brown or Neil Beaton, they used to get in each other's way too much. Whereas with these guys, they seem to be able to work in tandem and move quite fluidly. So I think Iwata's done a lot for his chances going forward. And as I said last week, he is now going 12 points clear. A lot more Kobayashi and Iwata, likes of O as well. And then obviously Summers and Vata coming off the bench later on in the game. I think these guys they've not done anything wrong with view to the other guys there. But the first 2 guys, Kobayashi and Iwata, I think they've done themselves very well to say, well, give me another shot start next week. I think Kobayashi reads the game phenomenally well. He didn't really seem under pressure too much. The opening goal, I think, was McGregor, and more than anything else, it kind of let us down there. So I don't think we can blame the backline too much. I don't think we can be too critical on Kobayashi or Starfelt overall. As for the other one who started was Haksabanovic, who starts. He didn't do anything wrong, but he's not as explosive as we thought he was going to be. But maybe that is just because he's been out in the cold a bit too long.
We'll definitely go into Haksabanovic. I was just getting more flummoxed with him as the game wore on. Eventually he came off. Ben Summers made his debut, so congratulations to him. Certainly someone who's fulfilled one dream of many Celtic fans is to don the hoops, and hopefully there'll be many more appearances to come. In terms of Kobayashi, so I'd imagine probably a lot of Celtic fans have started a petition by now for Starfelt to play on the right-hand side of the centre-backs and Koba to get a wee game whenever Cameron Carter-Vickers does indeed get a rest. So Kobayashi playing in his natural preferred position as the left centre-back. James, what did you think of Kobayashi today, and in general, were we more fluid? I wanted to ask that question. Were we more fluid in terms of passing out from the back? You probably got a more fairer idea of it in the second half, because the first half, Kilmarnock were so inept that they really did fail to press us. But what did you make of the sync of Starfelt and Koba?
I thought he played really well. Kobayashi in particular, I'd say it's probably between him and Iwata for man of the match today. There was a few times, particularly in the first half, where you kind of do that thing where we pass it across the back 4 and you can see it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And normally it results as kind of either scraping by the skin of your teeth or just kind of getting it away. Kobayashi done it a couple of times and was absolutely fine with it down in the corner. As I say, the pressure's coming on him and he just cool head and plays the pass out wide and gets away with it. But anytime I've seen him, I don't think he's played a bad game for us. I don't think he's really kind of made a mistake really since he's came in. Granted, he hasn't played a lot, but I'd be up for seeing a lot more of him. I think he looks the part so far.
I agree. John Coyle, obviously echoing your thoughts. Like the look at Kobayashi, he seems secure he seems assured on the ball. I've got to agree. The obvious thing is, unlike Starfelt, he doesn't telegraph his passes. It just looks more fluid, more to the point, direct, and it allows us to kind of push the ball out to our fullbacks, out to the wingers faster than maybe what we normally do with Starfelt. Obviously, it's not we're not criticising Starfelt too much here. Starfelt's a massive player in what we've built so far, what Postecoglou's built. But it's interesting. You can't help but fail to notice these wee small details whenever you do get a change, because rarely Ange ever changes the back line. So we've got a lot of comments here about Haksabanovic. I also see, like, we're 4-0 up within half an hour of the game today, and it was almost like everybody was on it apart from Haksabanovic. It's almost like being at a house party where the tunes are banging, everybody's having a great time, and you've got this one guy in the corner who's not really in the mood, not talking to anybody, and sadly, that was Haksabanovic today. James, am I being too harsh? The guy is 23, so he's still at a very good age. He's not a youngster, but neither would you say he's a proper seasoned pro.
He didn't do much authority. I like him. I really like him. I always want. Don't get me wrong. I'd like to see him get a run of games. I don't think we should just bin him off the back of the day. I would like to see him stay in the team for a few games so we can see what he can do over a kind of prolonged period. Coming off the bench, he looks absolutely fantastic. He's getting his goals, getting his assists, just generally looks the part when he comes on. But that's a couple of times now. When he started, particularly when he started on the wing, he's looked pretty poor. As I said earlier in the season, we played him in behind the striker. He started a couple of games there and he looked really, really good. So I don't know, maybe give him a wee start in behind the striker next week and see how he gets on in there. But I like the look of the guy, but I can't really defend him today. He wasn't really up to much.
And again, I hope he's not one of these guys who flatters to deceive. I said it a few weeks back, maybe more than a few weeks back. I just had this gut feeling that it might not work out for Haksabanovic for one reason or another. Maybe just opportunities, better players ahead of him right now. Maybe he would have flourished at Parkhead under another manager at a different time. But I could be totally proved wrong. Maybe by next season, he might be one of our regulars. You never know. But on the evidence so far, and today's game in particular, Haksabanovic, what's your instinct? What's your gut telling you about this player?
I think it's harsh to judge him today. Shite pitch, in from coming out of the cold, on the wrong side of the pitch as well. Passes. Did he not have a link-up play with? Was it Taylor to Haxa to O'Reilly or something? There's a link-up play where I'm sure he put through a killer ball that created one of the goals. So he's getting involved. And funny enough, I think that's when he actually drifted in the middle rather than being out on the right. But we said it from day one. We all knew he started on the right side, he played in the middle, then he played on the left over a span of 3 or 4 weeks for us. And we all said, yeah, left side or in the middle. Don't play him on the right. The same way they said with Jota, don't play him on the right. He's fucking useless over there. It kind of defeats the point of Jota being left to do the skills that he's got. I think Haxer's in the same boat, although albeit we play Jota that much on the right side, he actually is not too bad there now. But he's coming out, he's came on for the first start since October or something like that. It's something mental. And I think he mentioned that in his post-match interview there with Matt O'Reilly. And he, don't know if it's just his attitude, but he didn't seem like he was like all excited. Oh yeah, really glad to get on for those minutes. He was more just it's good to get minutes. I finally got on. This is good. So he may be a bit deflated himself. He's playing on the wrong side. He's not played much football. Yes, he should be there to try and impress, but when you're on that pitch at Kilmarnock, it's fucking hard. I'm actually surprised at how well we actually played football in the first half.
That's a fair point, and I'm also glad, as I said, lucky with any injuries today. Right, okay, so let's get into some of the flashpoints of the first half. Certainly in the second half, well, few and far between. By the way, at the start of the game, I think it was like a few minutes in, Starfelt get done a belter just outside the box. One of the boys, it might have been Armstrong, stood him up, pegged him, and ran onto the ball and fired in a dangerous pass, but I think it was Hart who thwarted it and it went out for a goal kick. I was worried if that might be a sign of things to come, but it certainly wasn't. So just a couple of minutes right after that, Kyogo scored. It was a suicide pass from one of their midfielders. He played it back a fair distance back to their centre-backs, who were quite deep, to be honest. But Kyogo intercepted it. He ran down the channel. It looked like he was bearing down and goal, but from quite an acute angle. And then he had the presence of mind to chop back onto his left. And the defender just stood off him. He took a touch and then he just dispatched it past the goalkeeper. James, this guy is full of confidence right now. Were you expecting anything less than a goal at that stage?
To be honest, when he chopped back inside, I thought the chance had kind of not gone, but like narrowed. But no, just absolute composure. Even after he cuts inside, he still takes the wee touch and just slots it in. But fantastic running, as you say, stupid ball back for the Kilmarnock player. Gets on the end it. As I say, when he chops inside, I'm expecting him just to hit it across the keeper as he's running onto it. Chops inside, still, I think they gave him the full 18-yard box to do what he wanted, to be fair, which obviously, if you're doing that with Kyogo, he's going to stick it in the bag. So, aye, good goal, good composure, and then fuck the penalty.
Oh, mate, talking about penalties, like Celtic, we're quite shite at penalties, both at taking penalties and Hart's record at saving penalties. I say deplorable, but I think Aaron Moy is only one who instills any confidence with penalty taking. Again, just we don't have the personnel for
even when Aaron Moy steps up, this is no big slight on Moy, but he doesn't look like a natural attacker, finisher, striker of the ball sort of thing. So when I see Aaron, I worry that he's going to fucking sky it or something as well, to be honest. The penalty wasn't the greatest, but see, to be honest, he keeps it low, he puts a bit of power on it. It dinks directly, pretty much at a 90-degree angle off the post, so much so that it falls in the path of Maida, who fluffs his chance as well. It's just unlucky. We're as good at penalties, defending and taking them as we are being wasted. We can't do it. For years, under every manager and every style of football that we've ever fucking played under my lifetime, if we try to take a penalty or try to kill time at the end of the game, if put the ball in the corner, run the time down, we're fucking hopeless at it. Absolutely hopeless. It's one of the good things with Ange. They doesn't bother with that shit too much. It's just all out attack. Because otherwise, if we try and defend, we fucking ship goals at times.
Well, we certainly don't get many opportunities to take penalties, as Chilpel said, and Fallon Woods here. Can someone just blast the fucker instead of the placement crap? I think you're entitled to expect from, a championship winning team, you're going to have a few players who are confident enough to take penalties. Even Jota, who's one of the most confident guys on the pitch, he worries me when he takes penalties.
Bring back Giakoumakis. The only one he certainly he was good. But even with blasting it sort of thing, it's one of those things. If he blasted it and it went 3 inches above the post, above the bar, and skied it, we'd all be slating him, saying he should have more composure. We're just shit at penalties, generally speaking. But then, as you say, we don't actually get many, do we?
I always remember Barry Robson. That was all Barry Robson used to. They just hit it as hard as he could right down the middle. And it was in the lead up to the mind we played Rangers like twice. It was like the Saturday or the Wednesday and then the Sunday. And we bet them 3-2 and he scores the penalty and he runs away, like, pumping his fist celebrating. But he had like 4 penalties in the run up to that game and he just blasted every one of them down the middle. And then it was like the next game we played Aalborg in the Champions League and he done the exact same thing and the keeper just stood in the middle of the goals and caught the ball. He just kicked it right into his hands. So
that's actually
not always beneficial.
Sorry, James, for interrupting. A good point for Paddy. Kyogo was grinning like a Cheshire cat before he took the penalty. I don't know if he was having a bit of verbal from the goalkeeper. He was trying to put him off him. I don't know if that was the case. But Kyogo smiling before missing a penalty. Years back, your captain would have strangled you in the tunnel afterwards if you'd acted like that. Can you imagine if Roy Keane was like one of our coaches? He would have murdered Kyogo for that. But I guess it's just part of Kyogo's his disposition. He just smiles when he's on the pitch, and it's a good thing. But maybe not whenever you miss the penalty, because he was smiling afterwards as well. However, no sooner had we Kyogo scored his first goal than Maida topped it up to make it 2-0. And by the way, what a start at Rugby Park, I think they used to be one of our bogey teams back in the 90s. I hated seeing us play Kilmarnock because sometimes we did struggle to beat them, especially away. However, great start, as I said. 11 minutes in, and Maida has made it 2-0. It was a headed goal from an Ayrshire Johnson cross. And McGinty, I think you were right. Who are we talking about earlier on? One of the players anyway. Fuck it.
Haksabanovic was it that laid him in?
Haksabanovic. He played it to Johnson on the right. It was actually a good team passing move because it started for Kobayashi firing it into Alan McGregor. Sorry for that name. Firing it into Callum McGregor.
Kobayashi wants to fire anything at Alan McGregor. Preferably something that hurts the fucker.
Bullets, rubber bullets.
We're not saying that.
I'll backtrack there. Anyway, a lovely cross for Alistair Johnson and Maida headed it in. So 2-0 at that point. McGinty, you think Maida is justifying his starts for Postecoglou? Obviously, he's one of the favoured childs for Ange.
I'm just going to point out once again, and I know it's on a technicality here, but his most dangerous point, he's in the middle, waiting for the cross from the right side. He jumps up, he gets a header on the ball. You don't expect him to be a naturally good header of the ball, but at close range, he's got to hit the target, of course. But he's so much more dangerous in the middle of the pitch, not out wide. Although, albeit from the World Cup onwards, he's shown a lot more what he can do out wide when he has the ball. But every fucking time he scores a goal, or every time he gets a really great chance, it's when he's in the middle of the box or coming through the middle. So I think quality player.
What's your point?
Wrongly used.
What's your point?
We utilise him wrongly. I would some days. I generally would. If we're talking about the need of a third striker, we talk about the need of bringing on O as somebody different. Sometimes it's not. We just need a different mindset at times, and Maida can provide that, yet being quite similar to Kyogo and being able to read the line, good runner, good dribble of the ball, good finisher. He's wasted on the left for me. He's good, but he's wasted. And I would happily play him in the middle and have Jota on the left, and then play a bad on the right, or give Vata a chance on the right, or whoever you want to put there. I would happily put him through the middle.
James, are we flogging a dead horse by playing Maida, who's not a winger, in the wing? I dare say that whenever we recruit maybe better personnel who are more suited to playing on the wing, then maybe we'll stop playing Maida as a left winger. But as far as I can see, he's doing a job.
I would agree with that. I actually thought Maida was really good today. I know he gets his goal, as you've said, coming in off the wing. But I thought he was really good playing wide today. There was a few times his first touch was absolutely fantastic, especially in that part. There was balls getting fired into him, more so in the first half, and he was just taking it on the run down the line, getting his crosses in. There was one in the second half as well. I think it was Awata fires it into him, and he takes it on the swivel, and it's nearly a good touch. He takes it on the swivel and it rolls through to the goalie, but he's no far off getting on it. There was a spell last year, wasn't there, where we put Maida through the middle and played him as our striker when Kyogo and Giakoumakis must have been injured, and I don't think he done very much when he played for Japan at the World Cup. I get the point to an extent, but they're playing obviously in the SPL. He's going to. You've got big kind of 6'5" centre halves that's going to put him up in the air, and they're playing kind of 10 men behind the ball. When he's going to the World Cup with Japan, nobody's putting 10 men behind the ball against Japan, do you know what I mean? Or for the most part anyway. So he's going to have that space to run into and try and exploit and things like that. But when he's here, you probably need to be... But then I suppose you could say the same for Kyogo, but I just don't see him getting a go through the middle. And I think when he plays for Japan, a lot of it is that running in behind, getting onto balls, which he just realistically in about 99% of the games in Scotland, he's not going to be able to do.
Aye, that's a really good point. Now, Matt O'Reilly, he's kind of caught the attention of a lot of Celtic fans about his performances overall this season, but today he bagged 2 goals. McGinty, think he's making up for lost time. O'Reilly had a very good game. We'll talk about his 2 goals. For example, the first one, 17 minutes in, and Celtic actually played through the lines almost literally. It was Kobayashi. He fed through Taylor, who occupied a kind of centre midfield position for a lot of the game today, but he took up that position. Taylor just spun around, and then he fed through Matt O'Reilly, who was almost at times playing in a centre forward position as well. And Matt O'Reilly just held off his marker and dispatched a low left-footed shot into the corner. Keeper never had a chance. It was very, very easy. Some of the defending was terrible. But Matt O'Reilly, confidence up. He's justifying these starts anyway, I would say.
I'm going to say a couple of things. Firstly, that midfield today in the first half, I think that worked really well. I think O'Reilly played a great part in it. He gets his 2 goals quite rightly. And I think Iwata and McGregor doing the tandem thing that they can do. It allowed to be more, for lack of a better way of describing this, a bit more Rogic in his position and what he was able to do going into the final third, kind of stepping through from the midfield into the attacking line. As for his goals, I think he had brilliant footwork, brilliant control of the ball. The first goal looked like he was in full control, but it looked like the ball was actually really quite under him. So it was really good footwork to be able to get out and get his shot, but it just showed his technical ability is fantastic, which reminds me in a completely different manner. And a moment that he had last season came out of it, and I can't remember what game it was or anything like that, but the ball comes from central to the right side of the 18-yard box, and O'Reilly brings it down with a weird, like the legs go right out to the side. He brings it down quite acrobatically. But that last year showed his technical ability and what he can do with the ball. And I think today showed you again when he gets into those positions, he can be absolutely fantastic. I think confidence-wise, that will give him a massive boost. He also got player of the man of the match, so I think, because he had player of the year. Man of the match he got today as well, I think, on the back of it. It will do him lots of wonders and lots of confidence. It could be that, and I don't want to say this negatively against Aaron Moy, but it could be we're finding that Aaron Moy plus O'Reilly, Aaron Moy plus Turnbull is maybe that kind of, as we said before, and I've said about the likes of Scott Brown and years gone by, it's too many slow midfielders that slow the game down, that doesn't allow O'Reilly to go forward and knowing that 2 people behind him and it can then lay the ball in for him and he can do the magic as Rogic could do before.
James, do you subscribe to that idea about slowing the game down?
If everybody's fit and firing, then I wouldn't be looking to have Aaron Moy and Matt O'Reilly in the same team. I think that's kind of tried and not failed, but it just doesn't really work. I thought O'Reilly was brilliant today. I said last week I thought he came right on to a good game in the second half, which probably a wee bit more unlike him in terms of he was sticking the fit in. It was more the defensive side of his game as opposed to going forward, getting his goals and assists. And he just looked to carry that on the day, obviously getting his 2 goals. So hopefully this is him getting back to form because it will be long overdue. But see, as it stands now, off the back of what you've seen, what would your midfield 3 be going into the semi-final? Assuming that everybody's fit, would it still be McGregor and Hatate and pick a third out of anybody else, or would you have mixed it up now?
Right, well, Hatate and Callum McGregor are stick-ons for that. I think the debate is, if everybody's fit, is whether it's Aaron Moy or Iwata. Have we seen enough of Iwata to say, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, he's in there? Or do we stick by, for the majority of the performances that we've seen from Moy, that Moy's a very, very accomplished player. And technically, he's one of our best as well. But back on Hampden, like he did really, really well in the cup final at Hampden. But Sevco didn't put the press on us as much as what you think they'll do this coming semi-final. So I think it's but amongst the Celtic fans, I think it's a coin toss between which one they'd prefer. A lot of people will be excited by what Iwata can bring. He certainly, what I like about Iwata is he can dispossess a player without going to ground, without making a proper tackle. He's just got this kind of core strength where he can just nudge someone off the ball and then just like release the pass back out to whatever player. I think Ange will go for Aaron Moy. What would I do? I think maybe Aaron Moy edges it, but I don't think I've yet seen enough of Iwata. And maybe if I do, I'll then be on the Iwata camp. So that's where I stand. McGinty, what would you go for? Would you go for Aaron Moy or Iwata for the semi-final?
I think he would go for Aaron Moy over Iwata. Personally, I would like Iwata If the midfield is going to be obviously McGregor and Hatate, I think I would like Iwata. The only downside to that is that you then have 3 players who could all be very similar, and you want all 3 to work in tandem. Whereas if you have Aaron Moy there, Aaron Moy can slow the tempo down a wee bit when we need to. He also has a brilliant football brain, so he can speed that up when he has to as well. He can get into great positions. But on the flip of that is if you want to be very attacking, you play O'Reilly, especially if his confidence is high after today's game. I reckon everybody fit, even myself, push come to it. I think I would go for this, and I think this is what Ange will do, is play O'Reilly with Hatate and McGregor and go with the attacking aspect of it. Go with the big pitch that Hampden has, know that our players can do the running, and if the time comes that we need to defend it a wee bit more, slow it down, then we might see the change of O'Reilly coming off for Moy or Iwata. But I think he'll start with O'Reilly.
It's an interesting point. So Plunge here, he was saying that we can't leave O'Reilly out after scoring 2 goals today. And it's a good point. Like James, like Moy had a shocker at Parkhead against Sevco. And you're talking about being in the team on merit. You know, that's not just meaningless words. So Moy comes out the team today and O'Reilly continues his run. He scores 2 goals today. How disillusioned would you be if you were O'Reilly or any other player, you know, fighting for the place? If you come into the team after a spell out, you do well. Today you score 2 goals, but then you're back out the following game. That's a good point as well that he makes.
But to be fair, I think that he does rotate it quite often, didn't he? So nobody's sitting out for kind of too long. But see, to be honest with you, maybe slightly harsh, and it is a hard 3 to pick, but see, Iwata, Moy and O'Reilly, I would probably have Moy bottom of my list for the time being, because obviously it was terrible last week and he didn't do much right the day either. He kind of come on, fell about a couple of times. I'm not going to hold it against him, obviously, only get the last kind of 15 minutes or something, but I don't think he done himself any favours the day either. So I would agree with McGinty. I think he'll go McGregor, Hatate and O'Reilly, but if I was making a sub, I would bring Iwata on before Moy, just based off kind of recent games. Obviously, he's been missing and then not been great.
I know a lot of people in the chat are probably thinking this. Sorry, Gav. I know a lot of people in the chat are probably thinking this when it comes to James and myself a little bit as well, that we're just negative against Aaron Moy. I'll be brutally honest. Aaron Moy has impressed me so much since the World Cup break. He's an invaluable member of our squad. He has a place in the team, and I can understand why I see him starting in the start 11. I will never, at this point, I will never doubt Ange if he picks Aaron Moy. I will understand and see what it is. Until he proves otherwise, that maybe his ability falls off the fucking cliff next season or something like that. For now, I can understand if he picks him, but he wouldn't be in my top 5. McGregor, Hatate, O'Reilly, and Iwata. And then I'm thinking you're looking at Turnbull and Moy, who comes on for them. They're the replaceable ones. The other ones are showing signs of really being able to step up when they can. O'Reilly needs to do more, but you can see he's got it in him that he could step this up. Them could be really great for this club. The other ones are good squad members, but they're replaceable at times. So not to be harsh on Moy, but yeah, he's 5th choice sort of idea. He's not first.
See, to be fair as well, like just off the back of what McGinty said there, imagine we had this conversation maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago and you said that you were going to start O'Reilly ahead of Aaron Moy, you'd have been laughed at. So it just shows you how quickly it can change, and who's to say in a couple of weeks' time we'll not be sitting here saying Aaron Moy in the team. But based off current form the new, then I think you've got to go with O'Reilly ahead of Moy.
Yeah, I hold the rights to correct myself in a few weeks and say that I talk utter shit and that Moy's a genius. I hold that right.
For Gary Melrose, no issues, McGinty. He's getting on and he needs games to get up to speed. He's clumsy and can't recover otherwise. Love him, but it's end of season tough love until it's in the bag. By the way, that comment just reminds me of Aaron Moy's tackle on Morelos when he grabbed him by the ankles when he was already on the deck. That's just one of the funniest things that I've seen in a while. But yeah, I guess it's what we want. We want this competition. The midfield is we've got a lot of good players right now. We're bringing in players. We've got rid of deadwood such as Abelgard. You know, I'm glad that Postecoglou saw he'd made a bad judgment call and he got the boy out. But we've got some good players here. O'Reilly's coming back into form. Moy is a little bit out of form right now. Awata is impressing some people. I like that competition. And it's a cutthroat business. I think the only person who doesn't really get dropped is Callum McGregor for obvious reasons. But other than that, it's a really good dilemma to have. And especially if Awata can be the yin to Rio Hatate's yang. Forgive me for saying that, but I just had to put that in there, McGinty.
That's fine. I just want to just touch on something else because there to hopefully agree with him and kind of show where potentially my viewpoint might change in the next few months to a year if Moy's still here. There's a conversation on one of the forums on the Talk Celtic forum about Joe Hart and does he get his contract extended after next season? What can he offer us? Is he getting a bit too old? And we've all seen that Hart does have moments of blunder in him. Early season, he was a bit of a like, fuck me, do we really need to replace him now? He's then since went on a long streak of he's absolutely fine. He's solid as fuck today. He was solid. He's had a couple of moments, nothing major. The free kick against fucking Tavernier, he could have done better, but I'm not going to hold it. But just I'm on a mad tangent here, I know, but just on that kind of point of what Gary's making, Aaron Moy, for me, is the number one guy, and this is not a slight on him just now, but he's the number one guy who looks like once he gets to a certain age, once his legs go sort of thing, he's going to just drop off a cliff. So he's great just now when he's on it, but see that moment where he realizes, oh, I'm just getting a bit too old, a wee bit too much, his ability is just going to go poof. A little bit like Scott Brown did in his last season. Keep his fitness and keep his injuries at the right level. You know, less injuries the better, obviously. But if Aaron Moy keeps picking up injuries, I think he's just going to drop ability-wise. He's just going to lose it very, very quickly. Whereas somebody like Joe Hart, I think he can probably keep going for a bit longer.
No, Moy's not going to lose his ability. Moy can't lose his ability like that.
Well, his sharpness.
Yeah, he can lose his sharpness, but he's not going to lose his technical ability. That'll always be there. I'll just finish off with the final goal for Matt O'Reilly. I thought it was one of the worst bits of defending I've seen in a long, long time. But 27 minutes, it was a classy finish for Matt O'Reilly, just for inside the box. But the defending was deplorable. One of the Kilmarnock midfielders, it comes out to him and the ball is dropping down from the air and he chooses this kind of Peter Kay moment. Do you remember that Peter Kay advert where the boys are doing two guppies and he just batters it out the park? He says it was a proper have it moment. This Kilmarnock midfielder did that and he sent it the wrong way. He sent it deeper into Kilmarnock's box and his hapless teammate, the defender, he jumps up and he heads it, but he heads it right down to the danger area, like a proper numpty. And that was just on a plate for Matt O'Reilly, who scored. It was just one of the worst pieces of defending, and it reminded me of the quality of the league that we play in sometimes. So that was that, and that was 4-0. The remainder of the first half, you had the Donnelly goal for Kilmarnock, who, if we're all being honest, I think we can admit that Cal McGregor kind of dwindled in possession. He should be thinking quicker whenever he's getting closed down on the edge of his box, but he got out-muscled, a couple of shots, a couple of saves, but eventually Kilmarnock managed to squirm it in to make it 4-1, and that's how the first half finished, and that's actually how the game finished. There wasn't too many flashpoints in the second half. There was some encouraging changes. Obviously, came on for Kyogo, and we said about that before. That may have been because a certain Jurgen Klinsmann, the manager of South Korea, was in the stands. There was some more changes later on. Kalmak, O'Reilly and Maida came off. Moy, Turnbull and Vata came on. Turnbull did okay. Moy was so-so. Vata looked interesting. Vata set up a fantastic chance for I think everybody was willing to get that goal. under the watchful eyes of Jurgen Klinsmann. Vata did brilliantly down the right wing. He flashed in across. It was tightly marked. He put it by the post, which was unfortunate. But would like to see more of Vata. I think Woodsy put in a wee question, and he was saying, do we think that if Abada leaves, then do we think that Vata can make, here we go, can Vata make the push to get the right wing berth next season if Abada goes? Obviously by another is because Forrest could be finished. James, what do you think the future holds for Vata?
I don't think he's done himself any harm. In terms of if Abada goes, realistically, I think we'll probably look to bring somebody else in. Just, well, saying that, I suppose Angela have seen obviously a lot more him, but he looks the part. He's not done his selling any harm with the cameos that he has had. The day obviously probably being the longest and probably the most effect he's had in a game. But again, he's coming on when the game's done and dusted. So maybe once the league's done and dusted, hopefully in a couple of weeks, we'll see him maybe get a couple of starts to really see what he can do. And if Abada does go in the summer, then we'll hopefully be standing ourselves in better stead. But as I've said before, we've been in this position of full-back wingers like Karamoko, Dembele and things like that, and we're like, if he goes, then Dembele will come in and replace him, and it doesn't always work like that. So if Abada was to go, I still think we would bring somebody in, but hopefully when the league's wrapped up, we'll get to see a bit more Rocco Vata.
There's a wee comment here for Plunge, and Plunge was kind of picking up what I'd said about the midfield. I said that McGregor is always going to be the first name in the team sheet. So what you're saying, Plunge, is that what obvious reasons, if McGregor isn't playing well, then he shouldn't be playing. He shouldn't play just because he's captain. I think it'd be very, very uncharacteristic of McGregor to have a run of games where he's out of form. I think if O'Reilly does it, then O'Reilly's out the team. If Moy does it, Moy is out the team. If Hatate did it, then he'll be out the team as well. McGregor, he plays because he's our captain, but he also plays because he's a very, very good player. He's very accomplished at what he does. I guess what I'm saying is it would be, for me, unimaginable for McGregor to have a run of games where he's just, where nothing can really go right for him. James, would you disagree with that?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I'm kind of so-so with it because I think McGregor, I actually might have said it on Tuesday on here as well. I think McGregor has been off it for probably a few weeks. But I think the thing with McGregor is when McGregor's on it and playing his ability, he is genuinely like a solid kind of 8 or 9 out of 10 every week. And when he's maybe off it a wee bit, like he's personally, like I think he's been for the last wee while, he's probably a 7 out of 10. So he's still solid, but it's just that you know that he can be that bit better and he's kind of playing within himself. So that the day, as weird as it might sound, that might be a bit of a blessing in disguise because hopefully it'll be a wee kick up the arse, a wee wake up call for him, and that wee mistake he made for their goal, and hopefully he can kick on. And as I say, I don't know if you would agree with me, if that's maybe unpopular, but I think for the last few weeks, and you probably get back maybe 4 or 5 weeks, I think McGregor's been quite a bit off it. He's not been that kind of picking the ball up, playing the passes, about getting forward. I feel as if he's been kind of playing within himself.
Yeah. I wouldn't say you're wrong. But it's possibly with the standards that Cal McGregor sets. You know, if he's a little bit under par, then it's not a massive margin. He's just such a good player that I don't think he would ever be dropped, especially in the big games.
I think you said it right there, Gav. Standards, and it's why you pick your captain to be your captain. You don't just pick a captain because he's been there the longest. You don't just pick a captain because he's a big money signing or because he's a midfielder or whatever. You pick a captain for many, many reasons, and some of the obvious reasons, aside from leadership, obviously. But one of the things you pick a captain for is his consistency. The fact that he's not a signal, the fact that he does put in consistent performances week after week after week. As James says, he's usually a solid 8 or 9. And the weeks where he's off it, he's actually just a 7. See, to be honest, a 7's fucking consistently solid, nonetheless. And I know what James is saying. He's not saying he's been absolute shit. He's just saying that he's not been at his peak level. He's been slightly below it. But that slightly below it is still a consistently solid performance every single fucking week. And he's not a signal. And he's got leadership abilities. He clearly has. That's why you pick somebody like Killmarnock as your captain. You don't pick a captain, say, as a really bad example, but say Jozo Simunovic. He looked like he could be a bit of a leader. But you wouldn't pick him as a captain because he's a fucking signal. And he wasn't consistent. Poor example, I know, but an example of somebody who's a signal. The chances of Killmarnock being subpar and being so piss poor are very, very slim. And just because he has one poor game 1 week, maybe, doesn't mean you drop him for the next game. He's your fucking... See if he went on for 3, 4, 5 games in a row. It was really fucking shit. Yeah, I think Ange would happily drop him in favour of somebody else. And that's why you have what they call a vice captain or the third choice captain. You know, Juranovic looked like he was probably that, but actually today it's probably more Greg Taylor because you need somebody on the pitch who's going to be a bit of a leader. Joe Hart from in those times when Killmarnock can't be there. But you pick him because he's consistent as fuck, and he is.
Aye. As I say, just reading the comments here, I'm not saying McGregor has been terrible. Of course, that's no by any stretch what I'm saying. When McGregor's off it, he's still going to be one of the first names in the team sheet. I'm just saying when you compare it to how he can play, I just feel as if there's another level that he can get to, which he hasn't done for me personally in the last few weeks anyway. But he's still, as I say, he's still solid, but it's just he's not playing to the levels that he's hit previously for me. Basically, that would be what I'd say. I'm not digging him out. I'm not saying he's been terrible, of course, no.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you a wee question about Greg Taylor? He was returning to his old stomping ground today, and he's a player who began his career as a centre midfielder. I would say, and I want to hear if anybody would disagree with me on this, I would say that out of all the fullbacks that have played under Ange so far at Parkhead, that he has been the most well-equipped to play the inverted fullback role, even better than Juranovic. I think Johnson has still got a bit of time to learn that. He's not been here for long enough, but Greg Taylor, with his technical ability, I know that he might not be the fastest, the strongest, etc., but I think the way that he cuts inside, and he was pivotal today as well for setting up at least one of the goals. Would anybody disagree with me about that, for Taylor being the best fullback for that tactic of the inverted role?
I didn't realise and didn't know that he used to be a midfielder. I thought he was always a left back. Anytime his name got mentioned before we signed him, I always saw him as a left back at Kilmarnock. Could be wrong there, but yeah,
we signed him when he was playing at Kilmarnock. Yes, we signed him as he was already playing as a left back. But when he first started out at Kilmarnock, the coaches pulled him back from centre midfield to left back. Yeah.
Generally did not know that, but that explains so much and how he's. If you take Ralston 1 and Taylor in season 2 now, they're the kind of standouts as the underdogs who've jumped up many levels. It explains a lot about how Taylor's adapted to this role that Ange has brought in with the inverted fullbacks. It's actually really fucking good. And it's great to know. I actually generally did not know he used to be a midfielder in that sense. So that explains why he takes it so easily and he fits in so well, and Ange wants to keep him there. It makes perfect fucking sense. As for Alistair Johnson, I'm actually struggling to think, does he actually invent himself and cut into the midfield often? He actually always comes across as somebody who's just the traditional fullback, wingback kind of role. He's just always on that fucking wing, which I'm okay with, and it might show a wee bit of a sign of Ange adapting his own style, as we've mentioned a few times before. He is slowly adapting things, and he's learning to not be so rigid in his own style and setup.
James, I think one of the fullbacks who probably epitomised that role the best was Philip Lam under Guardiola. Maybe Taylor is our version of Philip Lam, or am I talking absolute pish now by this point?
No comment. But no, as I say, he's definitely probably the most improved player. You'd probably say by some distance as well since Ange just came in. He looks literally looks like a totally different player. He looked as if I think everybody was on his case, maybe was on the road out, but fair play to him. He's turned it right round and he was brilliant again today.
I think he does kind of. It's a great reminder, a stark reminder to football fans who can be like myself, who can be very, very fickle at times. You can write a player off just on a hunch, and a lot of us had written off Greg Taylor, but how he's turned it around. Yes, he's maybe, if we were to be very, very harsh, maybe he's a player who we can eventually upgrade upon, but not right now. Right now, he's one of our players who stands up in the big games. But it's a stark reminder, as I said, that even if you write a player off, they can come back to prove you wrong. And that's just one of the great things about football, such as Anthony Ralston as well. That's a stretch, Gav. Maybe you're right. Our version of Philip Lam, not as good as Philip Lam. I'll just say that. Guys, anybody else who kind of caught your eye today? Second half, didn't really have many chances. That yellow card that he got, and the fact that it took for ages with VAR to check if it might have been a red card offence, it really does wind you up, man.
Aye, never a red card, total waste of time. You can see right away, just usual, same old with VAR.
Yeah. Well, okay, so next week we've got Motherwell at Parkhead on Saturday. I would imagine, I think they get beat by Dundee United yesterday, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would imagine a straightforward victory for Celtic. 12 points ahead. The goal difference is just amazing. Kyogo is running away in the goal scoring charts. Another goal for him today. Who do you think the player of the season will be for Celtic? Unless there's any other surprises, barring any other surprises between now and the end of the season, who do you think will get it? Will it be a steady Eddie like Cameron Carter-Vickers or Kilmarnock, or do you think maybe a flair player like Hatate, or maybe your goal getter like Kyogo? Who do you think will get player of the season?
I think it'll be Kyogo. There's probably a few. Well, there is a few that you could put forward for it. Hatate. There's Cameron Carter-Vickers. There is a fair few, but I think it'll be Kyogo that gets it just for consistency, the amount of games you've played. Cameron Carter-Vickers comes into that as well, but it's always the attacker that seems to get the nod, doesn't it?
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Right, okay, guys. We're going to finish it up for this afternoon. We'll be back on Tuesday for the Jungle Gyms Tuesday TikTok. To the viewers, thanks very, very much for tuning in, and thanks for calling me out whenever I talk pish, because that does happen at least once every podcast. James and McGinty, I guess we'll wrap it up for this afternoon, but another enjoyable victory, another 3 points, and Ange marches on. So for the viewers, thanks very much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll catch you, see you on Tuesday.
Hail, lads. Hail.
Yeah.